Uh, Good morning. On behalf of all of my colleagues, welcome to another McGuffin Mornings. I know people are still rolling in, so I'll kind of go over some housekeeping notes and we'll get started after that. If anyone is willing to keep their cameras on, I think I could, I'm not sure if I could see you, but I'm an extrovert. I feed off smiles and body language, so I'm an empty vessel and please fill me up. Let's see, the other thing is everyone will be muted except for our panelists, so you don't have to worry about barking dogs or screaming kids or anything or spontaneous applause. We can't hear you. And at the very end, we will have some time for a Q&A session. So if you could post your questions in the Q&A, Danielle, who's doing technological magic behind the scenes, she'll make sure that I receive them and we'll get those to our panelists. If there's a specific person that you want to answer a question, please call that out in the question. I'd appreciate it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Scullis. I am president at McGuffin Creative Group, and we're so glad that you took the time to spend some time with us this morning. At McGuffin, we consider ourselves lifelong learners. We're always pushing ourselves and pushing each other, seeking out new innovations, both inside and outside of our industry. We put McGuffin Mornings together to share our findings and inspirations with our colleagues, clients, and friends. You fall into one of those categories, and this is to help us grow as a stronger community, so we're glad you're here. I'm very excited to be the moderator for this morning's discussion. The topic we're going to be covering is preparing for the new now. And I'm thrilled to have such an amazing group of leaders with us today. They're going to share their thoughts, and I'm sure you didn't come to hear me talk. So we're going to begin by going around the panel. Please introduce yourself, your title, and what it is that you really do. And can we start with you, Lisa?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Randall. I am a director of marketing for First Midwest Bank. My team, what we really do is we support all the lines of business. So our consumer, our commercial, wealth management, small business, we support those teams with marketing strategy and execution.
And Lizzie, could you go next?
Sure. Good morning. This is Lizzie Schreier. I work at Allstate Insurance. Been there almost, 15 years. Feels like 50, but only 15. And I am the director of digital consumer engagement, and the team is responsible for all consumer-facing digital properties. And that includes not just Allstate, but also all of our affiliate companies as well. And also inclusive of our 11,000 plus agents across the country.
Thank you. Kristen, can you go next?
Hi, good morning. I'm Kristen Hemingway, and I'm the founder and CEO of Hemingway Strategies. And really, we help companies grow. It's traditionally through marketing strategy and customer understanding, and then we intersect that with leadership development. So it's a little bit of chicken and egg, strategy and leadership.
Great. And Mary.
Good morning. I'm Mary Ritwicker with CUNA Mutual Group. I'm senior marketing manager there for the broker dealer and advisor audiences at a national level. My team manages the marketing strategy and oversees execution into that channel.
That's great. Mary, how long have you been with CUNA Mutual?
Just 4 years, which is, I feel like a newbie at the company given the longevity that exists within our firm, but it's gone by very quickly.
I bet. All right. All right. So let's start with some questions, and we're going to start with you, Lisa. What's been the biggest change in your team's time and attention in the past few weeks, and how do you see these shifts impacting future decisions?
Great, thank you, Chris. So we've had in the financial services industry, you might have heard of this SBA Paycheck Protection Program. So we've really pivoted to this program, helping our customers, getting them the loans that they need. What this has in turn done in marketing, we've been practicing an agile process for about a year now, with different offers we're testing, sprints we're doing every couple of weeks to our consumer customers, but we haven't rolled that out on the commercial B2B side yet. But what this has done is the need to be agile and have frequent meetings and make quick decisions and communicate seamlessly to customers. This has had our commercial, our B2B side, adopt this agile process too, where we're having meetings 3 times a day. We're executing emails more rapidly than we've ever done before. So it's really shifted the mindset of our bank in general to more of an agile environment.
Wow. Okay. Kristen, same question. What changes have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, we always try and keep our eye to the future, but really what's happening is day-to-day triage of what's most important for our clients. So it's sometimes just becoming extra arms and legs for them to turn and develop content or execute an email campaign or some outreach to customers. So I think it is a little bit of protect the current business and then what's needed for today, which is a different way to operate.
Yeah. Mary, have you changed a lot?
Yes and no. I would say it's the biggest impact is working from remote, 100% of the time. We had very flexible working environment previously, but now that everyone's home 100%, that was an easy transition. What has probably been more of a hurdle is employees working from home with children and family partners in the same proximity 24/7. So, work-life balance gets a little blurry, and we've been navigating through that, if you will. I would say in our environment, we're trying to deconstruct the formality of our meeting cadence and do more freestyle, spontaneous communication so that we can react more quickly and engage and be more collaborative throughout the day. So really shifting what we're working on to be able to respond to the current environment has been our focus in the last 60, 90 days.
Nice. All right, Lizzie, besides, is it Lucy being a full-time employee now?
She is now.
Yeah. What changes have you seen?
We went ahead. So within a 2-week time frame, although our team is digital, and we've always been agile and worked pretty much in real time, the rest of the company, being a older company, has not been agile. And what this has forced the entire company to do is become agile and become agile very, very quickly. And in a matter of 2 weeks, from the top down, a decision was made that they wanted to do, and a lot of the companies have done this in the insurance space. A shelter in place payback is what we termed it, if you will. And Allstate was the first one to come out with it. And in 2 weeks, from the president coming up with the idea, wanting to give back roughly $600 million back to auto consumers because they weren't driving anymore, from idea to putting it back into customers' bank accounts, within a 2-week time frame, the ship had moved at Allstate. And trust me, it was a very long, very strenuous 2 weeks, but it was the most energetic, the most collaborative, and, working from home, often, you are on the phone with these people 24/7 for 2 weeks, but everyone pulled together from technology, from marketing, and things were just, you communicated more, you communicated way more than you ever did. There were emails flying. Everyone was on Teams. Everyone was communicating nonstop about it. But we got it done, and we got it done for the right reason for our customers. I think it was probably the best experience I've ever worked on at Allstate, or possibly in my entire career. And I think it has changed the way people work at Allstate. I think we all lived into our shared purpose. And I know we've all, we had an all company meeting in which our CEO said, we can only hope all of this will carry through into our everyday lives in how we work moving forward. Communicate more, communicate better, and work faster, and make decisions quicker.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I think all of us are going to come away from this with learning something, but like having the best experience of your career, like during this, that unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. We've seen some major shifts in marketing dollars. Everyone is increasing their digital presence and their digital spend. What new services do you think might emerge or gain popularity, and what might become obsolete? Mary, I'm going to throw this one at you.
Sure. I think, as everyone rushes to become more digital, we're seeing digital fatigue in our audiences. So how do you reinvent the digital experience? How do you stand out and differentiate in that space is going to be probably our biggest focus and challenge. For marketers, our role is to connect with our audience, but we're in a contact free or contactless mode right now, with a lot of businesses promoting that they're not connecting. So how do you bridge that gap? I think that's the biggest challenge. And I think the pace of digital delivery is going to accelerate. It was on a trajectory already, but artificial intelligence will continue to play a stronger role in connecting. And, on a personal level, I'm kind of watching the augmented reality pace to market, and how that will manifest itself in how we connect at the B2B level, but in a marketing environment, but also a training and educational situation. So lots of potential. It's out there. We just need to be ready to embrace it. And again, agile is the word of the day.
Right. Absolutely. Lizzie, you've been in digital 100%. So your whole team is digital. Did all marketing dollars come to your team? What happened? What's happening now?
I think Allstate was already moving heavier in digital. That was already happening. And so that was already on the trajectory before COVID happened. I think, though, what is even more important now is, yes, if you're not, or you weren't heavy in digital, yes, that's where to go. But to me, I think the important point is, it's not going to matter how much you spend in digital or where you invest your money, no matter where you invest it, if your message is not authentic. And I think we've already seen in this time of this crazy world we're in right now, brands coming out and trying to be authentic and empathetic, and they fail miserably, and they look fake, and they look, it's kind of embarrassing, and consumers are turned off by it. So I think it is, if you're going to invest more and more in digital, you best make sure your message is the right message, and an authentic message that is relevant for your brand, and it is the right timing. I think there's so much people or brands are just trying to jump in. And some are just, you kind of look, especially as a marketer, and I know many, in the audience and the panelists, we're kind of scratching our heads going, why did you put your brand out there now?
Mhm.
So if you're gonna spend the money, make sure your message is right and right for your brand and it's authentic.
I love it. Yeah, I'm glad you talked about the strength of brand, and it's not really the medium. You know, digital is important, agree, but if your story's not right, it really doesn't fly. Okay, a little bit more about how we're working. So all of us, most of us had to quickly adjust to working with our teams 100% of the time. How are you as a marketing leader managing individual work while still encouraging a collaborative environment? Lisa, you said that you're doing 3 meetings a day now. Can you talk about this? Like, how are you fostering collaboration?
Sure. So we were doing these 3 meetings a day, kind of whittled it down to 2. This was during the height of the PPP project going on. But personally with my team, I'm noticing, you know, we connect almost every morning. And then throughout the day, Teams has been such a great, powerful tool, a way to connect us. Like, it seems now I'm even more connected to my team than I was just in my office and plugging away. Now we can quickly collaborate, call each other, have a face-to-face meeting. So I'm really enjoying that. And then we're having fun with it. At the beginning, before we kicked off our panel today, we were talking about happy hours. We do a happy hour every Thursday. It's been just a great way to reconnect and feel the personal touch of what's going on in everyone's lives. So that's been nice too. And grateful for technology. And as we've mentioned, Teams, that's been really helpful.
Great. Kristen, how are you working with your team now?
Yeah, you know, we've always been fairly flexible and virtual. So some of our work as consultants is from our home office, and then when we're on site, obviously, when we were on site, we would come together. So I think for us, it is really about setting priorities each day. So we'll have a huddle, not unlike what happens in healthcare, to sort of come together around this sort of key priorities for the day, and then break. Morning is such a productive time for us. So we each kind of go off, build content, work on different things. Obviously, urgent matters come up sometimes. You got to just jump right on it. And so I think that we've done pretty well building our relationship voice to voice, and then on Zoom over time anyway. So I think the biggest change for us has been how we're interacting with our clients, because we're not on site facilitating workshops and, you know, talking about leadership in person. So this is really showing up differently for us with clients, and that is, you know, it's Zoom, it's finding out how to work together with different personalities and connect with them too. So we're finding different ways. Some clients just want a simple phone call and, you know, help us get this work done. I don't have much time, whereas others really want almost a daily touch point. So again, back to sort of knowing your audience.
Wow. Okay. So the topic is a new now, and we've heard a lot even this morning about reopening and getting started and getting moving again. So what we've been through, how will this experience influence your hiring decisions in the future? And what skills will you be looking for? And are there any traditional marketing skills that might become less important? Lizzie, do you have any insight into this?
I think the marketing skills I would be looking for are the same now, because I typically look for a cross between a digital marketer and a person that also has not necessarily someone that can code, but has a technical savviness and understanding that can cross the line between working with a technology team. So enough to be dangerous, I like to say.
Yeah.
Because you have to talk to them, but you don't want to get in their face and be like, hey, you're coding that wrong. Because trust me, they don't want me near their crap. But anyway, and not that it's crap, trust me, because what they do is amazing. But, you know, self-starter, I always like to look for someone who's curious, who's a learner, because in the digital space, it is constantly evolving. And just because their job is one thing on the day you hire them, by the time they come in the door, their role could be completely different. And that actually happened to someone I hired a couple of years ago. He was moving from Texas, and by the time he started, the job had probably doubled in responsibility. He showed up and I go, oh, by the way, you're going to take over all the agent websites. And he was like, I don't recall having that responsibility. I'm like, congratulations. But he was, he was the type of person that was able to just be like, that's awesome, great, hand it over. So I like to ask, like, what are you reading, or what are you interested in? What are your hobbies? Because that gives you a good feel for, are they continual learners? And that gives you an idea, like, is their mind constantly open for new ideas and new ways of doing things and thinking? I will say, though, in light of, we don't know what the future holds in terms of, if we go back to work, what the rollout's going to, or when we go back to work, what the rollout's going to be, part remote, part working in the office. What that will look like, you have to assume, based on everything we're hearing, that there is going to be other waves of this, and then people are going to be working from home. So you want to make sure that, these people have good workspaces, or are able to have that capacity to work from home. And so you'll probably be asking a lot of questions of, what happened during COVID? What were you working on? What was your experience like? I think that will change. And how motivated were they? How much work did you have? How did you work? What did you work on? I think those are questions, but I also think it's going to be harder to pull the trigger on a candidate completely remote. I think that would be the biggest kind of scarier thing.
You have some people for you working remotely, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and we've always done that, where a few days in the office, few days here. We've got some in Charlotte, there's some downtown. But we've always been like that, but to start completely having not potentially met them live, that's different.
I'm with you. I'm not sure how to go about that way. Just because it came up and I think it was interesting. Can you talk about how you're judging people's camera?
I don't judge. I do, but so, and it wasn't me, it was Twitter who judges.
Oh, it's Twitter. It's a Twitter judging.
Twitter judges your Zoom backgrounds. So if you notice, like, and from our pre-panel get-together, which was on Monday, many of us have changed our backgrounds, and we've added some orchids, and we've added some artwork and some pop of color behind us, just in case anyone's going to take our snaps and throw them up to Twitter, because people are kind of cruel on Twitter in terms of rating the Zoom background. So
it's so funny. What was it? Negative 10 points for a window or something? Plus 10 for the orchid?
Yeah, you definitely get pluses for an orchid plant. If you have a window behind you, you're automatically, like, you can't get, I think, above a 3 out of 10.
So funny. Lisa, so hiring moving forward, how are your practices going to change?
Building off what Lizzie had mentioned, I think, and I like, figuring out what folks have going on outside of their lives, what hobbies they have. I think motivation is key. You have to know that they can juggle and self-motivate when they're not in the office. And that's always been something, but I think in this environment, it's even more key. So also as a manager, knowing what motivates folks, I have some folks that want to climb the ladder, so it's nice. They're very self-motivated and they're working hard to prove themselves. Some folks are motivated by other things, so you just have to know that as well. So motivation, and then also prioritization. We've all talked about just a flurry of new priorities and new projects that come in, and you just have to react like right away and figure out, what can I do tomorrow? What do I need to get done today? So as a manager, you don't want to have to sit and reprioritize with everybody. Well, this is what you should be doing. So I think folks that can kind of, that they've juggled a lot in the past and they know how to prioritize, I think that's going to be key too. So for me, I think motivation and prioritization will be something I definitely hone in on for future hires.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's gonna be different hiring people without. I've never hired someone without physically meeting them.
Yeah.
But it's going to be it's going to be different. I think we're all going to have to do it. So for a lot of companies, this crisis exposed weaknesses. It showed weaknesses in operations, in talent, in technology. And they were exposed almost immediately, and people jumped in and fixed them. But how can we come out of this more prepared to address these issues earlier on, or planning for the future? Kristen, I know it's a long question, but can you give us some
it's a
guidance
really
there?
good one. A lot of the clients that we work with have these 3 to 5 year strategic plans, right, that include infrastructure, et cetera, and sometimes core infrastructure gets neglected. So as a marketer, I think the biggest concern I always have is, what is the state of your CRM, or your understanding both behaviorally and demographically of your customers, and so how can you get to them, as Lizzie said, with the right content at the right time? So for me, I think anytime you're moving to put together a campaign that's an attempt to customize and reach out to customers, the CRM or lack of sort of Salesforce Marketing Cloud, something to that effect, is a big one. So I'm always encouraging people to understand and segment their customers, and then have a technology in place to reach them. I think the second one is more sort of talent-wise, which is, and Lisa, you talked a little bit about this, the ability to have hard conversations, to have those courageous conversations as needed. It becomes even more important now to be able to really clearly communicate. And I find that not everyone has sort of conflict resolution or communication skills that have been invested in over time. It's kind of a nice to have in the workplace. So for me, I think that's been a really big sort of flashlight shown on how do we develop people in our teams and in ourselves that are able to negotiate the challenging workspace and actually give voice to it, but get others to respond and stay in dialogue. So those are two very different things, infrastructure and communications, but I think that's where I'll point in the future.
Cool. Just a reminder, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. Let's see, and they're already rolling in. As far as what can we come out of this, be more prepared for, Mary? Do you have any insights?
I feel very fortunate at CUNY Mutual. We were prepared digitally. I would say we were also very nimble in the sense that we were able to shift resources in the right place in a really quick time frame. So I think looking forward, what we might need to keep an eye on as we move into more digital space and expand those services in the financial services industry, keeping up with the pace of the security required to ensure that we're delivering safely and in a compliant manner. So that will be an ongoing focus for us. But I think the other thing is, others have mentioned, we don't know what the next crisis will be, or how it will impact our businesses, our communities, our society. And so just being prepared to be flexible and to respond and to problem solve in the most expeditious way we can, keeping that that mindset of never getting too settled in the way we're doing things today, and always being on the lookout for ways to improve, I think is going to serve us well going forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. Lizzie, this is kind of unprepared, but when you said earlier that you had a lot of different divisions all having to come together at one time to do this, I am sure cross communication wasn't in place, but you figured it out somehow. Do you think that that's going to carry moving forward?
Yeah, and we were already working on kind of this one all-state vision. So it was just accelerated by about 1,000. We put the pedal to the metal really, really quickly.
Good idea we have. We're doing it
And-
now.
yeah, we've been talking about it. Let's just put it in place right now. I think it was the nature of what we were doing. I think normally, minus the pandemic, normally I think people would have struggled to collaborate, understanding what we were trying to do. People would have struggled with the concept of bringing all the brands together and doing all that. But because it was the pandemic, because we were doing it for all of our customers, people just, put down their barriers and got it done. And it was hard work, but in terms of collaborating across all the companies, it was, not easy, but it happened and it worked.
That's amazing. All right. Coming up to some final questions here, and then we're going to get into a Q&A. So we're going to go around the horn. As we emerge from this pandemic, what's one thing as marketers that we should be focused on? Lisa, I'm going to start with you.
I think tracking and kind of measuring is always important, but I think even more so now as we're doing new things and trying new strategies, which it's great because in the digital space that's easier to do. So I think tracking and measuring, and also the process wise, how we've reacted to this environment and as Lizzie had mentioned, and same at the bank, we were all in weekends coming up with plans and how we're going to execute on this, and all departments together, and it was just kind of at first there's no process, like we're just all on the phone, we're getting on Teams, we had people that had never even used Teams, so then we would have a Teams expert come on the call and say, this is how you use Teams. So it was just a little chaotic, but again brought us together and we all figured it out and we moved forward. So I think knowing that now, we're trying to at least get processes down, so when we're working from home like this again, it won't be a fire drill. We'll have some direction. So tracking, measuring, process, I think those things will be key.
Nice. Kristen, same question. What should we be focused on?
Yeah, for me, I think it's remembering to stay human, right, with each other, but then also remembering that the consideration, the purchase decision, right, for our customers is ultimately not entirely rational, right? It's an emotional decision. So really staying in tune with, as marketers and as branders, sort of what is that essential human message about our business that we want to convey, and how do we share our understanding of them? So just
So true.
That reminder.
Yeah, it's so true. Like I think Lizzie was saying about being authentic. I think absolutely true. Mary, what's one thing we should be focusing on?
I think for us, we learned the lesson that focusing on ensuring the health and well-being of our employees first, making sure that they were navigating through this in a stress-free as much as we could environment, so that they're able to do the work that we need to do to serve our customers was important. And that kind of goes back to, I think Lizzie commented about your brand and really not straying from your brand DNA, regardless of all the distraction that's going on around, fighting that temptation to react or be something different than what your brand represents. So staying true to that's important.
Nice. Lizzie, what can we focus on?
I think one of the biggest things, and this is not earth-shattering by any means, it just was exacerbated by COVID, but when everyone is focused on the same goal, it is astounding what everyone can accomplish and achieve in a tremendously shortened period of time. And I think in any company, there are so many competing goals across different divisions, across different departments. And when people are focused on achieving same goals, I just think it is remarkable how much better we could all be doing in terms of productivity and efficiency. And I just hope people don't forget that.
Yeah, that's really great. That's the end of the pre-written questions, and now we have spontaneous. See how you guys do on your feet. And I'm not going to direct. I don't think these are directed at anyone. I have a question from Noreen. What should we not go back to once we return to the new normal? I'm going to throw that out to anyone who's willing, or I will volunteer you.
Well, I can say a lot of you have already, have remote policies and environments, but the bank typically, a few people worked remotely, but it wasn't really put in practice. It wasn't, not everybody had that option or opportunity. I think we should not go back to the mindset that you have to be in the office to be efficient and get things done. Obviously, we've learned from this that a lot can get done when you trust each other and you're working remotely. So I don't want to go back to that mindset.
Nice.
I would add to, I think that's a great one. I think another one, which I kind of just mentioned, is competing goals. I think, competing goals gets people focused on the wrong priorities. I think there is a tremendous, depending upon your company size, I think that is prevalent in corporate America. And I think, COVID allowed a lot of companies to really refocus on top key priorities and to move quickly and get things done. So I think post-pandemic, when, however this new normal looks, everyone needs to kind of refocus and say, okay, what are the top priorities we should focus on? And what should we just let go? What is not important anymore based on this new normal? Because there are things that don't matter anymore. And I think companies need to reassess.
Do you think, we're looking at our policies, and we had a pretty stringent work from home policy, but it was a policy, and now it's completely loose. Do you think that these policies will need to be written? Are we going to have to, when we have work from home people, are we going to have to set standards?
I personally think so. So, I think there has to be guidelines. We did let some folks work from home prior, and then if you don't have the same rules for everyone, it can just get messy. So yeah. I think maybe not a strict policy, but maybe more guidelines. And at the end of the day, it really should be the manager's decision, at least in our environment, but I think you need something.
I think accessibility is important. Good communication and collaboration in those environments is important. From my perspective, I think if the work gets done and it gets done well, that's priority one. How we get there, I could be a little bit more flexible on, but I think to your point, that it's the manager's comfort level as well.
I think it really depends on the production environment too. So with some of the marketing teams that I work with, yes, you can have remote, graphic designers or HTML folks, but there is a time when you're developing a campaign or something really important where there are some benefits to coming together and really being there. So yeah, it may be about a pattern of, when it makes sense to work from home versus being a blanket policy. I think that's the new norm might be that there is no policy that fits. But I like Lisa's point about, what are we looking to achieve during that time? And said, are you being productive? And then what's the value of team being together?
Right. Okay. I have another question from Lynn. It's a heavy one. How have your companies responded or reacted to employees who have contracted COVID or were impacted by it? Family members, example.
So
set for a minute.
we've, well, obviously protecting their, privacy. So we don't really know who has what's going on. But at least, we have branches. So at the branch level, if there was someone infected, the branch is quarantined and shut down, and kind of we moved to more of a hub and spoke for helping our clients. So for employees that have had COVID, obviously they have health care, and we enhanced a few benefits, which I didn't fully pay attention to. And I know, protecting their privacy. And then we've just rolled out new programs, for the folks that were on the front lines in the branches. They got an extra bonus actually for being there at that time. So we did roll out a few extra benefits for folks that had to work in a location at a certain time.
Wow.
We also augmented benefits specific to COVID, so above and beyond, regular benefits on the books for those directly impacted or indirectly impacted, through family members or, if they were caregivers. So it was, kind of expanded as well to, just compensate for situations that resulted as and impacted families during this time. So it was a quick and immediate response for the employees, and I think very much appreciated.
Okay, that's good. Another question. Hey Karina, this is from Karina. With a lot of conversation and marketing being discussed about digital, is there any consideration for other forms of media, podcasts, radio, TV, which we're actually watching again? Has there been talk of that?
We upped our media budget for TV, and we cut out some other areas. We shifted media dollars. And also on the agency production side, we came out with 2 new commercials pretty quickly. So we have shifted our media dollars a bit to TV. We had committed to a pretty solid out-of-home billboard program that, we've already paid for. So I think we'll be out there a little bit. This wasn't our plan. But we have shifted other media dollars for TV, because now we're all watching the news and we're all home. So.
Yeah, how about radio? Has anyone gone radio or podcast?
We have it in our plan, but we haven't executed much. We do have radio out there now, and our radio partners have done some kind of, we'll run, I know you're not paying for this, but we'll run your ads for a bit. So we've had that, but again, we've kind of adjusted our dollars, but we are out there in radio.
Okay.
One of the big unknowns for our clients is the amount that they usually spend on sponsorships and events,
Yes.
summer periods in
Mhm.
particular. And so I think that is really up for grabs. It's so unfortunate with Ravinia canceling as an example, right? Where they're, not only is it a cultural phenomenon to bring people together for these events, but then you wonder what will happen with sponsorships. So I'd say healthcare clients that I work with, their media dollars, they're not producing new TV right now. It's such a big production cost for them, but I can see maintaining share of voice TV, could certainly help to do that.
Cool. All right, so another question. Given this new environment we're in and everything that's going virtual, what are some of the new skill sets you should add to your self-development goals?
So obviously Zoom background decor. You need a
An
stylist.
orchid. Invest in an orchid.
That video presence is important.
I think also content that you're sharing when you're on social platforms like LinkedIn. I think knowing and having relevant content that you're sharing is important too for your own brand.
Great.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in with facilitation skills, which you're doing a fabulous job of, Chris. I think that as you're facilitating in these virtual environments and working with cross-functional teams, I think that ensuring the input and participation, and then how do you circle back with that agreement of what's been decided, et cetera. So I feel as though the actual meeting facilitation and the decisioning afterwards will just take a slightly different shape as well.
I think another skill is because it's different when your work and your home is in the same spot. And so you need to be able, depending on where you're working in your home, whether it's a separate space or whether it's a space that is the communal space within your home, and you have others living in your space and it's 4 or 5 people, it can be difficult to split the two, split your work from your home life. But that is a skill that needs to be honed, to be perfectly frank. And I'll be honest, during the 2 weeks for that big project, there was no work-life home. It was work 24/7. But after that, it was, I had to split it. But, knowing that everyone is home, knowing that everyone you work with is reachable, sometimes it is tempting to reach people off hours. So it really does need to be a practice to cut it off and say, you know what, I'm not going to bother people. And I need to just shut it down, and it can wait until tomorrow if it can wait. But to be able to, it's much easier when you're at an office and you can leave and come home, even though you're probably bringing your laptop home. It's a bigger separation for work-life balance, but being at home in the same environment, it is more difficult to do that work-life balance. So I think that is a skill that we all need to probably master more than if we had an office outside of our home.
I'm curious, do you think is it setting boundaries with the people who are living under your roof, or is it setting boundaries with the people who are trying to get in contact with you?
It's
What do you
both.
think?
I think it's both.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And your pets.
No boundaries there. There are no boundaries.
There's none. No.
Keep kicking her away. Like, go. All right. So we're gonna wrap up and give some people a little bit more time back in their day. What we've heard, I've been taking some notes. It's, right now, brand matters and being authentic matters. We've heard that repeatedly. Communication came up repeatedly, and this time has taught us that communication matters, and also heard that people matter. And that came up throughout everyone's talk, and I think that's it's just nice to hear, especially from the leaders that we have in the room. When you guys you're talking about like people and brand and communication, I think it's really positive and to hear. So thank you.